Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. On the occasion of upcoming Lakshmi Puja and Diwali celebration, our camera has got spoiled. So that is what it took us so much time. So we, somehow it is just working. This camera may give it up on the way. Then I'll switch on to the laptop camera, fine. So be with a poor quality video today. Hi Krishna, so welcome everyone for today's uh, session. This is part of our Bhagavad Life program where we discuss from Srimad Bhagavatam, but on the occasion of this very, very important Kartik Mass, we thought why don't we discuss about Damodarashtakam composed by Satyavrat Muni, written by Srila Vyasadev, and then again documented by Srila Sanatana Goswami in Hari Bhakti Vilas. Upon the instruction of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had instructed Sanatana Goswami as one of his services to write literatures. Why? Because Manusmriti, Yagnavalkya Smriti, etc., were present. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted for Vaishnavas, particularly for Vaishnavas, there should be a rule book. Therefore, instructed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sanatana Goswami, by the Lord's inspiration, Hare Krishna. Okay. How did my camera got switched off? Okay. Fine. Anyways, what was I saying? Yeah, Vaishnava literature, Srila Sanatana Goswami, had the inspiration of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Hari Bhakti Vilas, which generally talks about, Vaishnava etiquettes, rules and regulations regarding spiritual life, about how to celebrate different festivals, different vratas, etc., And in that, one whole chapter has been dedicated for Kartik Mass, particularly the 16th chapter of Hari Bhakti Vilas, where Srila Sanatana Goswami quotes Damodarashtakam composed by Satyavrat Muni, which is found in Padma Puran, into that chapter. And then he makes 2 points. Of course, there are Kartik Mahatmya, and Padma Puran talks about many things that need to be done. Srila Sanatana Goswami emphasizes on 2 important things to be practiced. Of course, ABCD association, reading of books, Prabhupada books, Vedic scriptures, chanting, Krishna Prasad, Dham Seva, Dham Vas, Tulsi Seva, etc. They're very important, very, very important, no doubt about it. But along with that, worship of Shri Radha Damodar has been greatly emphasized. Kartik means Srimati Radharani, and Kartik Mass, there are 12 months. One of the months is Kartik Mass, and the Ishta Devta of this Kartik Mass is Damodar. So like that, Shri Radha Damodar is worshipped. Srila Sanatana Goswami quotes verses from Padma Purana where it is instructed that in this month, particularly Shri Radha and Damodar should be worshipped. So I want to start with this first question. We'll quickly offer prayers and then get into a discussion. Many times people ask this question, well, the pastime occurred between Srimati Yashoda Rani and Krishna. From where did Srimati Radharani enter into the scene? There are descriptions about this whole incident. Well, I'll speak about the Leela part of it, how Srimati Radharani entered the scene when we discuss the last verse, the 8th verse. But here, scripturally speaking, in Padma Puran, it is very clearly mentioned. Okay, before we go scripturally, philosophically, what is tattva-wise, Srimati Radharani is the best of the best gopis. She is the most dearmost to Shri Krishna. Therefore, Lord Shri Krishna is greatly pleased when he is served in this Kartik Mass, which is a mass or month of Srimati Radharani along with Srimati Radharani. Although scriptures do not explicitly speak about Srimati Radharani, but in the Kartik Mahatmya section of Padma Puran, categorically it is mentioned that Krishna should be worshipped along with Srimati Radharani. Why? Because she is the topmost gopi, very dear to the Lord. And that's the reason Satyavrat Muni, while concluding the Damodarashtakam in the 8th stanza, he talks about Namo Radhikaye Priyaye. What's that line? Twadiyai Priyaye, like that. The most dear to Lord Shri Krishna is Srimati Radharani. Like that, we worship Shri Radha Damodar. So let's begin with our discussion. We're going to discuss about the second verse of Damodarashtakam. Let's offer prayers, seeking blessings over Acharyas and the Lord, and then we'll speak something on what Srila Sanatana Goswami. Here another point, Srila Sanatana Goswami in Hari Bhakti Vilas, he wrote about this Damodarashtakam, everything, and then he gave a commentary on this Damodarashtakam, which is called as Dikdashana Tika, which we are referring for our discussions. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्यताय देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौ भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. So let's resume our discussion on the prayers titled as Damodarashtakam. So there are 8 prayers in this, or 8 stanzas. We discussed the first stanza last time. I'll just briefly make a point about it, and then we'll go to the second verse. Namam Ishwaram Sachit Anandarupam Lasat Kundalaham Gokule Brajamanam Yashoda Viyulukalatava Manam Paramrishtamahtyanta Todritya Gopya. Namami Ishwaram Satchit Ananda Rupam. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the divine form of the Lord, the Ishwar. I offer my respectful obeisances to the Supreme Personality Godhead, who has divine form of Satchit Ananda Rupam. And then with the beauty of his form, Lasat Kundalam, he has a very beautiful earrings that he is wearing, like that. And what is he doing? Gokule Bhajamanam, and he's there in Gokul. His residence, eternal residence, is Gokul, Vrindavan Dham, and there Brajamanam, he's along with his eternal associates, Nitya Parshads. And what is happening? Once upon a time, something very interesting happened. Krishna was a young boy, around 3 to 4 years old, and then one day, Yashoda bhiyolu khalatavamanam. Out of fear, Yashoda bhiya, out of fear of Mother Yashoda, Yashoda bhiyo ukkhala. Krishna was sitting on ukhal, and when he turned around, he saw Mother Yashoda holding a stick. He got terrified, petrified, fearful. And what happened? Dhavamanam. He ran away. And what happened after that? Param Rishtamahatyanta to Drutya Gopya. And then Krishna was chased by Gopya, Mother Yashoda. He was chased by Mother Yashoda and Param Rishtam Atyanta. So was he caught? Krishna, who is being described in the beginning as Ishvara, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was he caught? Two contradictory things are mentioned in this verse. One is Yashoda Bhyo. Krishna became afraid. Now, how can the Supreme Personality of Godhead become afraid of someone else? He's said to be death, or he's said to be fear personified to the death himself. And that Krishna has become fearful. And not only fearful, he actually was caught. He was caught by Mother Yashoda, no some big devta or yogi or jnani. He was caught by a simple coward lady, Yashoda. And this incident of Krishna becoming fearful is the same Krishna who Arjuna, while seeing his Virat Roop, had tears in his eyes, trembling. Here, Yashoda Biholu, Krishna was traveling out of fear of Yashoda, and there on the battlefield, when Arjuna requested Krishna to show his Virat Roop, seeing that ferocious form, Arjuna was trembling and he was crying. He had tears out of fear, and he was requesting, my dear Lord, please, please resume your two-handed form. That is very blissful. This is a very terrible presentation. And that same Krishna is today terrified by Mother Yashoda. And second irony is, he's even being caught. He's even being caught by Mother Yashoda. If you look at, let's say, Upanishads for that reason, generally it gives a very abstract definition of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in that, one of the Upanishads that we read is Isha Upanishad. There it is mentioned, Manaso Javiyo. The Lord can run faster than the speed of the mind. And it is mentioned that all devtas are trying to catch up with him, but they cannot catch up or match the speed of the Lord. So this is how the Upanishads, this is how the Shruti describes the Supreme Personality Godhead. And then we have Srimad Bhagavatam describing that Supreme Personality of Godhead. That personality, the Supreme Brahman, has been captured. The one who is infinitesimal has been captured, not infinitesimal, that is means small. One who is infinite has been captured by Mother Yashoda. How is it possible? And here I would like to reflect on one very interesting thing, which actually established the glories of Braja Bhakti. Now, all of us have heard, read probably many times of how Indra and Brahmaji both decided to play a trick with Krishna. The trick played by Indra led to a very beautiful pastime called as Govardhan Leela, which is also celebrated in this month. And the trick played by Brahma led to Brahma Vimohan Leela, another very profound pastime. If you for a second consider those two Leelas, Krishna was neither terrified nor he ran away. Yes? Krishna was just hardly disturbed. So much so, Indra tried to destroy the whole Brajavasis, the whole Braj Dham. He could not even, uproot a single blade of grass on the mountain of Govardhan. He couldn't harm. Nobody was afraid. Nothing happened. Neither he terrified Krishna, nor he chased or caught Krishna. Similarly, Brahmaji captured, kidnapped the Gopas, the Sakhas, and the calves and the cows of Lord Shri Krishna, and the cowherd boys and men. But yet nothing happened. Krishna was living his life. He expanded as many as calves and as many cowherd boys were there. And Krishna was performing his Leela. It is only Brahma, when he came back and saw Krishna is not disturbed only. How is it possible when he saw that all the calves and the cowherd boys are still roaming around with Krishna? So Brahmaji and Indra, that great, Indra is said to be Indra, the king of devatas is said to be Indra, and Brahmaji is the creator of this world, creator of this universe. Both of them came and begged forgiveness. They offered prayers of, pacifying, seeking forgiveness from the Lord. And this is where irony comes. They could not even terrify the Lord, or let's call Krishna, because this all happened when Krishna was a child. They both couldn't terrify Krishna. What about thinking about capturing Krishna? Here, Mother Yashoda, so much she frightened Krishna with her stick raised above. Not only this, she even chastised Krishna. She rebuked Krishna. You have become very naughty. You are a butter thief. You keep stealing. Today I'm going to punish you. Like that, she scolded Krishna. Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur writes in the 10th canto commentary on this pastime, what kind of scolding words Mother Yashoda used. Despite that, despite being frightened, yet Krishna was caught by Mother Yashoda. And Mother Yashoda didn't even have to say sorry. She didn't have to offer prayers of forgiveness or anything like that. Nothing happened. And here Brahma and Indra couldn't do anything to Krishna, yet they had to come and ask for forgiveness. So what is the difference? These devatas are those, of whom they control the whole universe. They're the presiding deities of this whole universe. And Mother Yashoda, a simple cowherd lady. So the reasoning mentioned is the difference between Yashoda or Brajavasis and the devatas is very significant. And that is what is very important lesson for us from the first verse of this Damodarashtakam. And that is, the Devtas represent controllership mentality. They wanted to control Krishna. Therefore, they failed. They had that false ego and ahankar that I'm better than Krishna and I can control Krishna. But when it comes to Brajavasis, they don't have any sense of false ego. Now, Mother Yashoda had this Aishwarya Gyan that Krishna is a Supreme Personality Godhead, because Krishna himself showed the whole universe within his belly some time ago when Krishna just had mother's milk. And he yawned, opened his mouth, Mother Yashoda saw. Yet, because the intensity of mother's vasalya, prem was so intense that Aishwarya Gyan was covered over, and she could not recognize, or she even didn't want to bother thinking that maybe he is a Supreme Personality Godhead. Whenever the demons would attack and Krishna, according to Mother Yashoda's vision, was saved or protected, she'll bring Krishna in front of Narayana. She worshipped Narayana at home. She'll bring Krishna in front of Narayana and she'll say, Krishna, worship Narayana, because of Narayana you are protected. And Krishna would smile, Arey, this Narayana has come from me only, whom you're asking to worship. Like that, Mother Yashoda had a vision. So the difference between Brajavasis and the living entities, including the Devtas, we all are conditioned by this mentality, I am somebody. We have this ahankar of being somebody, of this controllership mentality, which Brajavasis do not have it. Therefore, Lord Shri Krishna allows himself to be captured by their love, because they do not have any such controllership mentality. Second thing which we see here, which is very iconic for Lord Shri Krishna's pastime, which is the sweetness of his Leelas. The Leelas continue. The Leela will continue even in the next session. I will not be completing the Leela today. I'll be only sharing the part of the Leela, because in the third verse, the Leela is further explained. We'll discuss that next time. But the sweetness of his Leelas, particularly the sweetness of his Leela, is Krishna, when he personally appears, only in that time he performs his pastimes like human. We have Balakand of Lord Ramchandra, but you do not find anything like this. What's her name? Lord Ram's mother, Kaushalya. She's chastising, or she's running after Lord Ram, and Lord Ram is running in the baag or bagicha of Dashrath Maharaj. Papa, Papa, Baba, Baba, bachao, maiya piche. There's nothing like that. Balkan doesn't talk about it. So that is another beautiful, perspective of Lord's performing Leela. He performs his Leela like a child, like a human. Just like when a child wakes up in the morning, he begins to cry, asking for mother, and wants to get, he wants to get food. Similarly, on this day, Krishna woke up and he began to cry, and he went to mother and he wanted to drink mother's milk, just like how the human being will do. And that's the beauty of this particular pastime. So that's the point. Just want to reflect the difference between Brajabhakti and Brajavasis, and that of the Devatas, for whom Vishnu is the presiding deity of all what they do, worshipable Lord. Yet they're not able to please the Lord as much as the Brajavasis, because they don't have any controllership mentality. Now, let's go ahead with the second verse. What does the second verse talks about? Rudantam netram yugmam rajantam karambhuja yugmena saatankanetram. So we'll sing that as the verse goes on. So what happened after Krishna was caught? When Krishna was caught, what happened then? So when Krishna was caught, our acharyas explain, particularly I'm going to quote Gopala Champu now. Srila Jiva Goswami goes on the details of this whole incident, what happened. When Krishna was caught from behind, he was caught by his hand. And when he was caught, and Mother Yashoda is holding Krishna in his hands, has caught Krishna by his hand. And then she had a stick up, and Krishna was crying. He was trembling. We'll see what meaning, then we'll understand that. He was trembling, he was crying, piteously rather. And he was saying, Maya, please do not beat me. Please do not beat. I promise, I will not repeat this again. And Mother Yashoda said, what? Why did you first of all break the pot? You break the pot, then you feed such an important, this commodity, this butter which is meant for your consumption, you feed it to the monkeys, and then you go and steal in the house of others. I'm going to punish you. And Krishna began to cry more. And this is what this verse talks about. Rudantam hurnetra yugmamrajantam. And how is Krishna is crying? With this one hand, he's rubbing his eyes. He's rubbing his eyes, rubbing his eyes. So acharyas talk about why was he Krishna doing like this? Why was he rubbing his eyes? So one reason given is why Krishna was rubbing his eyes. He wanted more tears to fall. More tears to fall. And the more tears will fall, then my mother maybe, if she loves me, then she may become a little bit pacified. She'll not be so cruel as she is right now with me. So that's the reason he was rubbing, whatever little drop out of water is there, let it come out. Second thing, why was he crying? Krishna was crying thinking that maybe seeing my tears, my mother may get pacified and she may wash off my tears. But when Krishna saw rubbing eyes is not making a difference, my whole face has got covered by tears and his ointment has spread all over the face. So what Krishna did? He only cleaned his tears. And he saw mother is bent on punishing him. So he only finally cleaned his tears. He's like, okay, aaj to main gaya. She's not. And mother said, nothing. I'm not going to fall victim to any of your trick. Today, I'm going to punish you because you have become so naughty like that. So let's take a look word by word. And then we'll study this pastime from 10th canto, how it's been described. Some very beautiful points comes there. Rudantam, Rudra. You understand the word Rudra. So, Rudantam. Rudra means jo dusre ko rulata hai. That's what Rudra means. Rudantam means crying. Muhu means again and again. Rudantam, Muhu. Netram, Yugmam, Mrajantam. Which means he was rubbing his two lotus eyes again and again. How? Through his hands. Karambhoja Yugmena. So with his lotus hands, Krishna was again and again rubbing his eyes. Karambhoja Yugmena. He was rubbing his eyes with his two lotus hands. And what was happening? Satanka netram. Atanka netram. Atanka means terror. His eyes extremely fearful. Now, Prabhupada writes, eyes is the windows to the mind. The state of your mind is reflected through your eyes. If it is said, Atanka Netram, which means his fear was visible in his eyes, which means he was really fearful. His mind was captured by fear. How can Krishna, if he's doing a lila, he could imitate, he could not imitate, he could play a script. Why would has to actually feel frightened? Yes, Krishna was actually frightened. We'll talk about it. How does it happen? How Krishna can get frightened? So Satan Kanetram. And then what happened? Muhushwashakaham patri rekhankakanta. Muhushwash. So different ways can be looked. Muhushwash, which means when you cry a lot. You remember you sob? So you don't breathe from the mouth, nose, you breathe from the mouth. Like that. That is what is happening. So he's really, there's a muhushwasa. He's breathing from the mouth, you can say, or can be mentioned, he's crying, sobbing heavily. And what is happening? Muhushwasa kampa, trirekhanka kantha, kampa. And the whole body is trembling. And now when does it happen? It only happens when you are completely fearful. Muhushwasha kampa. And this is why Mother Kunti says, my dear Lord, how am I supposed to understand this Leela of yours? You being caught and terrified or frightened by a simple coward lady? And you were crying like an ordinary child? You were sobbing like anything? Your whole body was trembling? If anyone would have to know this past, and they say, how can you have this as a Supreme Personality Godhead? Like people find faults with Lord Ram who couldn't protect her own wife, Mother Sita. Somebody say, Are, Krishna is crying. So, people cannot understand. So therefore, in Bhagavad Gita, it is mentioned the two kinds of jnana, jnana and vijnana. Jnana refers to the prowess of knowledge, which means the God is great. That also Srila Prabhupada says in 10th canto, or 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita and 7th verse, if I'm correct, in the Prabhupada writes, people say God is great, but they don't know how great is God. So at least Bhagavad Gita teaches you about the greatness. But Bhagavad Gita not only teaches about the greatness of the Lord, that is one kind of jnana, and then there is vijnana. Vijnana refers to the pastimes of the Lord, the leelas of the Lord, which are sweetness personified. And then knowing prowess of the Lord and the sweetness of the Lord, actually means knowing entirely. Entirely means you cannot know Krishna entirely, which means you know Lord now. So most of the population who believe in God, they only have some iota of understanding about the promise. But because they don't understand the sweetness, they find faults. They discredit the Supreme Personality Godhead, saying that, oh, how can he be Supreme Personality Godhead if he got terrified, etc., etc. So Muhushvashakampa, trembling, Tri Rekhanka Kantha. Kantha means throat. He had a beautiful neck as described. He has a conch-shaped neck, and there were 3 lines. So because he's trembling, so his neck is also shaking because of heavy breathing is being described here. And what is happening? Sitagraiva damodaram bhaktibadham. Sitagraivam. Oh, the Sitagraiva means he had a necklace around his neck which was shaking wildly because Krishna's body was trembling. And then Damodaram Bhaktibadham. And then Krishna was finally bound. So here I have a question for all of you. If I ask you the meaning of the word Damodar, what does word Damodar means? Anyone, please, would like to define what does Damodar means? Yes, Mother Medhavani, what does Damodar means?
Dama means rope and Udara means the belly of the Lord. So Damodar is the Lord whose belly was bound by the ropes of mother's love.
All right. So Damodaram Bhakti Badham. Here Satyavatmani says Damodaram, the Lord Damodar, Badham was bound. But he doesn't say Dam Badham. What does he say? Bhakti Badham. So Damodar actually in Sanskrit, yes, correct. Dam means rope, Udar means belly. But actually Krishna cannot be bound by a rope. How Krishna was bound? Bhakti Badham. Therefore, Satyavratmani, if you pay attention, so beautifully he brings out the point that how Krishna was actually bound by Bhakti. Bhakti Amam Abhijanati. So only devotees of the Lord can capture the Lord. It is not possible. You know that very famous shloka in Padma Purana? What is that? Naham tishtami vaikunte yoginam hridayeshua yatra gayanti madhbhakta tatra tishtami narada. So where do I reside? I don't reside in Vaikuntha. I don't reside in the heart of yogis. Yogis are always meditating. So where do I reside? I reside yatra gayanti madhbhakta tatra tishtami narada. Wherever my devotees assemble to sing my glories and rejoice, there I reside. So only way to capture Krishna is through bhakti, and that's a very important point. We'll take a look ahead when we talk about it. So that's the point here. Bhakti Padam. So Damodar does not mean Krishna being bound by the ropes. Krishna being bound by the love of Mother Yashoda. So that's how Acharyas explain that's the meaning. And it's a very, very important point actually. So let's take a look where this pastime is described in Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 9th chapter, verse number 11 to 21. Talks about this pastime. We'll be a little quick with this. Let's take a look at what it is mentioned. It is mentioned Kritakasam tam parurudantamakshini shantam anjanmashini swapanina udviksamanam vayavihavalikshanam hasta grihitva vishayantyavagrat. So I'll not go in much details, but what is being described? Okay, let's read out the translation. When caught by Mother Yashoda, Krishna became more and more afraid, admitted to being an offender. He had admitted that I committed the aparadh, I committed the blunder. As she looked upon him, she saw that he was crying. His tears mixed with the black ointment around his eyes, and he rubbed his eyes with his hands. He smeared the ointment all over his face. Mother Yashoda, catching her beautiful son by the hand, mildly began to chastise him. So Srila Vishnu Chakra Thakur writes very beautiful points. What is the intent of this verse? So the first, he says the intent of this verse is to tell us not only did Yashoda catch Krishna, who cannot be obtained by the yogis. So Mother Yashoda caught Krishna, but she not only caught Krishna, She also haste grihitva vishyanti avagurat. She also chastised Krishna. To make this point that Krishna was not only caught by Mother Yashoda, he was also chastised. Who was chastised? That person was chastised who was even praised by Brahma and Shiva. That Krishna was chastised by Mother Yashoda. And then the third point, the intent of this was established. Mother Yashoda was holding a stick, and that stick, through that stick, she instilled fear in Krishna, who instills fears in the death personified. To make this, contradictory points together, that is why Srila Sukdev Goswami makes this verse here. And how did she chastise? Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur writes, how did she chastise? She said, "You have such a restless nature. You friend of the monkeys, you pot breaker. Where are you going to get the butter today? Today I'll bind you up so you cannot go and steal and eat butter with your friends. Are you afraid of being beaten with a stick?" And like chastising like this, Mother Yashoda lifted the stick. You will also cry if this would have to happen. And Mother Yashoda lifted the stick and Krishna began to tremble like this. So Srila Prabhupada makes a very, very beautiful point. Prabhupada's focus is more on relationship between Mother Yashoda and Krishna, where Prabhupada writes, he says, through this dealings of Mother Yashoda, we can understand the exalted position of a pure devotee of the Lord in relation to his loving service to the Lord. Where Lord is allowing himself to be caught, to be chastised, and to be frightened, because that is the wish or the desire of the pure devotee of the Lord, like that. Let's go ahead. What happens next? Then when Mother Yashoda saw that Krishna is really becoming fearful, then she gave up her stick. That is what this verse talks about. Tyaktva yashtam sutam bhitam. Sutam means son, bhitam means bhai. When she saw the son has really become fearful, tyaktva, she gave up the stick. Tyaktva yashtam sutam bhitam vignayarbhaka vassalaha yeshakilatam baddhum damnatad viryako vidaha. Damna means rope. Atad virya kovida. Kovida means, learned person. Virya means prowess. She tried, Damna, to bind Krishna. What happens now? She threw the stick away. That's the first point. Second thing, she decided to bind Krishna. Atad virya kovida. Rejecting or ignoring the prowess of the Lord or the Supreme, or the knowledge about the Supreme Personality Godhead, that he cannot be bound. So ignoring that fact, the Aishwarya about the Lord, opulence of the Lord, she caught hold of rope and thought of binding Krishna like this. So what happened here? Srila Jiva Goswami talks in Gopal Champu. So Krishna looked at Mother Yashoda and said, "Don't beat me, Maya, don't beat me." And Yashoda answered, "If you don't like getting beaten, why did you break the yogurt pot today?" And Krishna said, "I won't do it anymore, but please throw the stick down." And then Mother Yashoda threw the stick down. But she became worried. And Gopal Champu Passim goes on, we have discussed last time, because Mother Yashoda called Krishna, you're a friend of a monkey. And Krishna said, "All right, I'll go and be with the monkeys." So she was frightened that he might leave to the forest, considering of the well-being of her own son, completely immersed and absorbed in the Vatsalya Ras, having no idea about the opulences of the Lord or who Krishna is. She thought of binding Krishna for his protection, because that is the duty of the parents, like that. Let's move forward. Text number 13 and 14. Now here Sukdev Goswami writes these two verses. What is the intent? In the previous verse, it is mentioned Damnatad Viryako Vidaha. She ignored the knowledge about the prowess of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is Krishna. And Damna, she picked up a rope to tie Krishna. So Sukdev Goswami emphasizes, who is she trying to capture? Who is she trying to catch? So here in these two verses, Sukdev Goswami glorifies the position of the Absolute Truth. Who is Absolute Truth? Na chanta na bahiryasya na purvam na pichaparam. He is not inside, he is not outside, he has no beginning, he has no end. Purva param bahir chanta jagato yo jagachaye. He has no beginning, no end, no exterior, no interior, no front, no rear. In other words, he is all pervading. because he's not under the influence of the element of time. For him, there's no difference between past, present, and future. He exists in his own transcendental form at all times, being absolute without relativity. He's free from distinction. This is what I mentioned. Let's take a look at the 14th verse. Very interesting verse, very important. Tam matvatmajam avyaktam mrityalingam nadokshajam gopiko lukhaledamna babandha prakratam yatha. Some words which we would like to emphasize, I have highlighted. So it is mentioned in these two verses, three things are mentioned. Three subject matters are discussed by Sukadeva Goswami. First, the greatness of the Lord. Second, the sweetness of the Lord, because he performs pastimes like a human. And third, babandha prakratam yatha, and he is bound by the love of his devotees. Like that, three things have been mentioned. So, 14th verse, what it is said? Tam matva atmajam. Atmajam means mera beta. Matva means considering. Tam. So, Mother Yashoda looked at Krishna and began to consider, hey, she is my son. Mrityalingam. So, two things are mentioned about the Lord. Avyaktam, adoksajam. Avyaktam means he is not manifested, unmanifested. Now, unmanifested in the sense, to us, he is unmanifested in the sense that we cannot recognize him. We cannot even recognize his prowess, what to speak of sweetness. And to Mother Yashoda, he is unmanifested in the sense he is present, yet unmanifested. That's what is mentioned. How unmanifested? He has hidden his Aishwarya. So Mother Yashoda is not able to understand he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then Mrityalingam Adoksajam. What is Mrityalingam? Mother Yashoda saw him just as her own son. Mrityalingam is like a human being. Adoksajam. Then Sukadeva Goswami says, but he is Adoksajam. So Adoksajam means, infallible, or other meaning is he's beyond sense perception. He cannot be understood through material senses. And Gopi ka ulukhale damna. And then Mother Yashoda, which is Gopi, bound Krishna by the ukhal. Babanda prakratam yatha. Babanda prakratam yatha. Babanda means Krishna was bound. Prakratam, just like an ordinary child would be bound by his mother. Like this, Krishna was bound. So, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti says, Yashoda tied up Krishna, not with the cords or the rope, but with the cords of her prema. The all-pervading Supreme Personality Godhead was finally caught and bound by Mother Yashoda, which actually Yashoda means who increases the fame. And here Krishna is increasing the fame of Mother Yashoda, and Mother Yashoda is increasing the fame of Krishna by proving that how Krishna gets subjugated by the prema of his devotee. And here Krishna is increasing the fame of Mother Yashoda, saying that through this lila, that how Mother Yashoda caught me. Like that, Mother Yashoda, who binds up with the ropes. Now, who she's trying to bind? Mother Yashoda is binding the one who binds all of us through the ropes of Maya. Devi Yeshugunamai Umayadratya. And that person who binds each one of us through the ropes of Maya is being bound today by the prema of Mother Yashoda. And that is the intention behind this verse being spoken like that. All right, let's move forward. Then what happens? Text number 15. So now Mother Krishna has not been bound. Krishna has been, Mother Yashoda is trying to bind. So what happens when Mother Yashoda tries to bind? It is mentioned, when Mother Yashoda was trying to bind the offending child, she saw that the binding rope was short by a distance, the width of 2 fingers. Thus she brought another rope to join it. In the meantime, all the gopis had assembled. Gopal Champu mentions about how all the gopis have arrived by this time, because there's already a lot of hue and cry was going on at the scene, and they all came and they began to smile and clap. Aaj to pakda gaya, aaj to pakda gaya, badmash ke gaya. So they were pretty happy, and on top of it, they were very happy seeing the situation of Mother Yashoda, because until today, prior to this, she never believed that her son steals. She always protected Krishna, and now Krishna has been caught because he was found stealing in his own house. So they were like, "Dekho, chori ki had dekho, aap to apne ghar mein chori kar li hai." So gopis were having gala time, and Mother Yashoda was also having a great time. And they all came. Mother Yashoda is trying to bind Krishna, like that is being described here. What happens next? Let's take a look. Yadasit tad api nyunam tenanyad api sandade tadapi dvi angulam nyunam yad yad adatta bandhanam. So when Mother Yashoda was unable to bind Krishna, then she asked to get other ropes from her house. When that didn't happen, then the gopis ran to their homes, bent more ropes. And like this, everyone is witnessing a very, very special pastime. Some miracle is being performed right in front of them, where the size of the rope, the length of the rope is increasing, but yet Krishna is not being bound or unable to be bound by Mother Yashoda. So how is it happening? Krishna is there, Krishna is terrified, he is fearful, and Mother Yashoda is trying to bind Krishna. The size of the rope is increasing, but she's unable to do it. So all these pastimes, see, imagine if that is what is happening. Imagine you're trying to bind somebody. Think about it. And you are increasing the length of the rope, but you are still not able to bind the person. Will you be frightened now or not? Yes or no? And you'll be like, "Arey, what is this? My rope has become so long and I'm still not able to." Still, it's not that the rope was getting wrapped around Krishna and the ends were not getting tied up. Please understand. The mother will move the rope around Krishna's belly, around the ukhal, bring it in front, and again try to bind. No, the rope is still short. Can you imagine? So everyone will be frightened. But the other Yashoda was stubborn because she thought, my son is stubborn, I am also stubborn. So how is this Leela being performed? This Leela is performed in which all the Leelas, all the pastimes of the Lord are performed through his Yogamaya Shakti. So the Yogamaya has hidden the Aishwarya Gyan of the Lord, and Leela Shakti is prominent because of which this Leela is performed. Now, very important to know, who is Yogamaya? Anyone would like to make a guess? Who is the personified Yogamaya in Krishna Leela? Who takes part with Krishna? She is the one who plays an instrumental role in arranging all the pastime between Shri Krishna and Srimati Radharani. And that's anyone who is Yogamaya in Krishna Leela? Who is the personality of Yogamaya? Okay, the personality of Yogamaya is none other than Paurnamasi. Paurnamasi is that Yogamaya. Paurnamasi's son was Sandipani Muni. Interesting relationship. Paurnamasi is always there, so which means she would have come from Ujjain at one point in time, but she always resides in Vrindavan. And her son is Sandipani Muni, whose ashram, after performing the Leelas in Mathura, Krishna had gone and taken training, Gurukul training in Sandipani Muni ashram. And Sandipani Muni's son, anyone knows his son? You're sannyasi, Grasta. He has a son, must be Grasta only, na? I mean, he was a Grasta. So, what was his son's name? His son's name is Madhumangal. So, our, just skipped my hand. Sandipani Muni. So, Madhumangal is son of Sandipani Muni, who always resides in Vrindavan. He is Nitya Parshad, like that. He never leaves. Madhumangal Brahman. So you never, whose father, who is his father? And that is Sandipani Muni, like that. And that's the relationship. Pretty interesting family, a very powerful family. माँ लीला करती है, बेटा भगवान को पढ़ाता है, और बेटे का बच्चा भगवान का सबसे प्रिय मित्र है. This is called as high class family, huh? Everyone is intimately related with Krishna, correct? Without mother's will, pastime cannot happen. She controls all the Leela in Vrindavan. The son is the teacher of the Lord. And the son's son, which means the grandson for the mother now, is the best friend of Krishna, who never leaves by the side of Krishna. That's the beauty of this incredible family. Let's move forward. What happens in the 17th verse? Let's take a look. Evam sageha damani yashoda sandati api gopinam sushmayanti nam samayanti vishmita bhavat. Vishmita, she is astonished. She is astonished for two things. First is the size, the length of the rope is increasing, but the belly is not increasing. So how come I am not able to bind Krishna? If the belly was increasing, I could imagine he's playing some magic power here. He's doing some magic show. The belly is still this much, and the length of rope is increasing, but I'm still not able to tie him up. And second astonishment, which is described here, that okay, whenever I bring the rope around his belly, every time, it should be ideally, the rope is 3 finger short, 4 finger short, 5 finger short, 1 finger short, half finger short. Ideally should not be any short, because that's what Mother Yashoda want. But each time it is 2 finger short, exactly 2 finger short. And seeing this, Mother Yashoda is smiling and the gopis are smiling. What is happening? Everyone has forgotten today's Diwali, and they were not only preparing for Diwali, they were also preparing for Indra Puja. Because this is a time when Indra Puja would happen. That's how the Govardhan Lila happened, which is 2 days after Diwali. So 2 days or 1 day after Diwali. So they were preparing for Indra Puja, which was a big festival for them. And they've left everything. And they're witnessing this incredible pastime where the length of the rope is increasing, the belly is not increasing. Simultaneously, each time the rope is 2 fingers short. And they're like, wow. Smayanti is smiling at that astonishment. Text number 18. Now what happens? Now Krishna agrees to get bound. And how does he get bound? Was Mother Yashoda bound Krishna, or what happened? Let's see. Swamatu Swinnagaturaya. When he saw Swamatu, my mother, is performing such a hard labor, such an intense effort. Visrasta Kabaras Raja. And her hairs are becoming loose, her forehead has got filled with sweat. She's so much she's endeavoring. Drashtva Parishramam Krishna, seeing Parishramam, the effort of her mother, of his mother, Krishna, when he saw that, Kripya Swabandhane, he became extremely merciful at Mother Yashoda. And what happened? Swabandhane. Swa Atmaya. How does Krishna appears? Swatmaya, by his own will. How did Krishna got bound? Swabandhana, he got bound by his own sweet will. So what is this 2 finger short indication? This is the verse talks about. 1 finger is our endeavor. Persistent endeavor. Persistence. We have to keep endeavoring. But that endeavor would only bear success when Krishna is pleased. When Krishna is pleased, the line is complete, and now the current can flow. But until then, we have to keep on endeavoring. Mother Yashoda didn't knew. It is mentioned Gopal Champu, this Leela started in the evening, it started in the morning, it ended in the evening. Whole day Mother Yashoda and the gopis were trying to bind Krishna. So very, very important thing. First, our efforts are very important, and that efforts, only when Krishna is pleased, only by his causeless mercy, we can attain his mercy. In other words, we can get our desire fulfilled of having that sweet relationship with the Lord. And that is what is being mentioned here. So, so there is a very beautiful conversation mentioned between the gopis and Yashoda and Gopal Champu. So gopis tell Mother Yashoda, hey Yashoda, don't you see? Today your luck is bad, but Krishna has a good luck. Why? Because you are attempting to bind Krishna, but his luck is favoring him. Despite having all the rope, you're not able to bind Krishna. So we believe you should give up this attempt. So like this, the village woman advised Mother Yashoda, but Yashoda said, no. Even if evening comes and I together the rope of the whole village, I must find out just once the extent of my son's waist. कितना बड़ा पेट है मेरे बेटे का? आज तो मैं पता लगा के ही रहूंगी. So, if Yashoda, with the desire to do good to her son and being stubborn, would not give her attempt to bind the Lord, then Srila Jiva Goswami has a very beautiful point. There is a competition going on between Krishna and a devotee. Kabaddi. You play kabaddi. What happens in kabaddi? Whoever gives up first. For example, you have caught hold of the opponent. Kabaddi. And the moment he starts taking breath, or he begins to breathe, right? That's the time he loses. But imagine, this is a kabaddi match going on. And Mother Yashoda is trying to catch Krishna. It's like she has caught Krishna. And Krishna is saying, kabaddi, 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 kabaddi. And that is going on, going on, going on, going on. And Krishna is, Mother Yashoda is tightly holding Krishna. And Krishna is going on, kabaddi, 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 kabaddi. That is going on, going on, going on. So in this competition, who would win? And everyone is saying, Are, this boy is not becoming breathless. And you are not becoming tired holding him. And when you hold him, the other person also tries to set free. Na? There's so much force been put through by you, and the boy is not becoming breathless, and the boy is not getting caught. So what should be done? So in this competition, Srila Jiva Goswami mentions, so in such a competition between the Lord and devotee, the devotee's stubbornness prevails. Very interesting. Which means the devotee's desires takes precedent over the desire of the Lord. When Krishna saw mother becoming tired, then Krishna gave up his stubbornness. Stubbornness, you understand, na? Stubbornness means hut. You know, Ziddi. Yeah, hut. Okay, so Krishna gave up his stubbornness like that. And by his mercy, allowed himself to be tied like that. Let's go ahead. Next verse, what is mentioned? Evam sandarshita hiyanga harina bhratya vashyata. Very important word. Bhratya vashyata. Bhratya vashyata. Bhratya means servant. Bhratya means das. And Krishna has come, Bhratya Vashyata has come under the Vasha of his own Das. The Mother Yashoda is a servant only. Everyone is a servant of the Lord. That is what Sukadeva Goswami is saying. Same thing is mentioned when, why Nrsimhadev appeared? So Nrsimhadev says, Satam Prasanga, no, not that verse. What is the beautiful verse? The 7th canto. Anyways, there it is mentioned, Bhratya, my child, my son, my devotee. He desired me to appear, I appeared. Very beautiful verse actually, 7th canto. Similarly, it's mentioned, Harina Bhratya Vashyataha. Harina means Hari. Bhratya Vashyata comes under the control of his own servants. So that's how Srila Prabhupada says, what kind of master he is. Think about it. The master, the managers of this world, they only want to exploit you. And the moment they cannot exploit you anymore, which means you're no use to them, they throw you away. But they will never come under your control. Here, look at the master of all. He happily comes under the control of his servants. Like Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is becoming the charioteer, like that. Evam sandarshita hiyanga harina vratya vashyata swavashe api krishnena. Now, how does he come under the control of his devotees? Swavashe, by his own desire. Yas idam sha ishwaram vashe. Yas idam swa ishwaram vashe. Like this, he comes under the control of his own devotee. And Srila Prabhupada says in the translation, this was now exhibited by Krishna in this pastime, where the one who binds everyone has been bound today and has been defeated, like that. Very, very beautiful. And therefore, Mother Kunti, she scratches her head, and she says, Naveda kasche bhagavansch kirshitam tave hamanasyanam vidambanam. Vidambanam is bewildering. Nayasya kasche dayatosti karhiche dveshascha yasmin vishamamatirnanam. No one can understand your transcendental pastimes. You appear like a human. And vidambanam, there's so much bewildering. Neither you have any object of fear, what is that? Okay, so Lord is equipoised in the sense he has an equal vision. He doesn't hate anyone. He does not show affection to somebody like that. He is equipoised like that, is mentioned. And then what Mother Yashoda says, she says, Janma karma cha vishatman ajasya krutatmana tiryana shishu yadashu tad atyanta vidambanam. Tiryana shishu yadashu. Janma karma cha vishwatman, you are the soul of the whole universe. Yet you take janma, yet you perform karma, although you are inactive. You are swarati, you don't depend on anyone. Ajasya kurturatmana, and you appear again and again all different kind of yonis. Why? This is very bewildering. And then she says, fear personified, who is fearful for death, has become fearful of Mother Yashoda. And this is a very classic verse. Gopya dade tvai kritagasidam tavat yate dashashu kalanjana samramaksham vaktram nininya bhaya bhavanaya sitasya sama vibhoyati bherapi yad vibheti. So she's quoting here the pastime that we are discussing. Sama vimohati bhirapi yad viveti. How can you be fearful? And because you became fearful, I'm bewildered. Sama vimohati. This is very bewildering. Gopya dade tvai katagasi damatavad. How can a simple gopi bind you? Yate dash ashru kalinchana. And you were so fearful that you were crying. Your whole, ointment, what you call as kajal, was spread all over your face. Vaktram ninanya bhaya bhavanaya sitasya. You were afraid, though fear personified is afraid of you. How am I supposed to understand such kind of pastimes, my dear Lord? So, Lord's Leela, this particular pastime is often quoted for one of the most misleading pastimes of the Lord. And coming to the last two verses of this section of this, this is the parallel we are drawing between the Damodarashtakam stanzas and the Bhagavatam verses, 20th and 21st verse. What happens now? Here, Krishna has been bound. So now Sukadeva Goswami says, how is it possible? And he says, neither Lord Brahma, nor Lord Shiva, nor even the goddess of fortune, who is always a better half of the Supreme Lord, can obtain from the Supreme Personality Godhead, the deliverer of this material world, such mercy as received by Mother Yashoda. This is outstanding, that how Lord Shri Krishna allowed himself to be bound by Mother Yashoda. Even Brahma, Shiva, and even Lakshmi does not have such a mercy. Nayam sukhapo bhagavan dehinam gopika sutaha. And here Sukadeva Goswami mentioned two kinds of bhaktas. And through this, once again, he glorifies Brajavasis. Nayam sukhapo bhagavan dehinam gopika sutaha jnaninam chatma bhutanam yata bhakti matam hiya. So you, as a Supreme Personality Godhead, Gopika Sutta, who appeared as a son of Mother Yashoda, is accessible only to devotees, yata bhakti matam hiya, who is engaged in spontaneous loving service. But you are not easily accessible to Jnaninam, those Jnanis or mental speculators, like that. Jnaninam Chatma Bhutanam. So, very, very important point here. Jnanis versus Bhaktas is being raised in this verse. So, Jnanis at max, even if they wish, they can reach up to Vaikuntha. This is how our acharyas explain. Why? Because at max they can develop a dasya bhav. Because in Jnana platform, awe and reverence is there a lot. Because if you understand the greatness of the Lord, but naturally that awe and reverence comes, and that is a predominating factor in for the Jnanis. I'm talking about the devotees, Jnanis. It is mentioned Vasudevan Sarvamiti Samahatma Dallava. Whereas in case of bhakti, the kind of bhakti which is being mentioned here, which allow Mother Yashoda to bind Krishna, is actually Braja Bhakti. Braja Bhakti is a spontaneous devotion service. So we read Nectar Devotion. Therefore, Srila Rupa Goswami says Sadhana Bhakti, Vaidhi and Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. So Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, following rules and regulation, having the vision of awe and reverence to the Supreme Personality Godhead, one can skip Raganuga Bhakti and enter into the devotional life at Vaikuntha platform, where he is situated in Dasya Bhav. But somebody can go to the Raganuga Bhakti Star. Raganuga Bhakti stage is what? Raga Anuga. Becoming the followers of Ragatmika Bhaktas like Mother Yashoda, Madhumangal Stoka, Krishna, Sudama, Sridhama, etc., like that. Gopis, following in their footsteps. So therefore, just like in 4th chapter, 14th verse Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Arjuna, follow the example set by your predecessors, which means have a role model. Similarly, in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami says, at a certain stage of maturity in our Krishna consciousness, this question worries many devotees, what is my Swarup, eternal Swarup? And our Acharya says, at certain situation in your devotional life, you will find yourself being attracted to particular pastimes of the Lord. Maybe the pastime which Lord performed with the gopas, with the gopis, with the monkey, with the cows, etc., etc. In the Vasalya, Sakya, Madhure, etc. And then when you find yourself being attracted to particular facet of spiritual life, then hear more. You will be naturally attracted to hear more about the devotees who are situated in that mood, just like Vasalya. So if somebody develops the mood of Vasalya, I would naturally be attracted to hear more about childhood pastimes of the Lord, not Kurukshetra pastimes for that reason, would be more naturally attracted. And then we should hear. Here is a catch which I would like to mention, which is a lesson which I would like to draw from this second verse. So first verse, we do a lesson about the glories of Braj Bhakti. Even Devtas do not have that privilege. And second verse, we would like to draw a lesson here is, now a devotee may come to a situation where he has an inspiration to follow in the footsteps of particular devotee. Let's say Vasalya Bhav, inspired by Mother Yashoda. But here, a point to be noted, when a devotee develops that kind of aspirations or inclination, he does not aspire to become Yashoda. Yashoda is Yashoda, eternal associate of the Lord. Let me make a point. How does envy functions? Why Mayavadis are said in Isha Upanishad will be cast into the hell? Why? Because they're envious of the Lord. And what does it mean by envious of the Lord? Envy of the Lord means we want to become the Lord. Yes? And let me give you an example in our day-to-day life. If you remember back in the histories in those days when you had gone to watch a movie, when you watch a movie, if you can recall, you would notice that when you would watch a movie, let's talk about for a male, he would identify himself with the hero, not with the villain. Yes or no? He will identify himself with the hero. And therefore, the movie stars are the biggest brands, because they come and smoke a cigarette, people start smoking. Why? Because they want to be hero. They want to become like him. So when we watch a movie, we identify with the hero, the lady would identify with the heroine, and they want to become like them. Why? This is called as envy. This is because of envy. Similarly, in our relationship with our seniors, but what is a Vaikuntha mood? No, we don't want to become like them. We want to acquire their mood and behave like them, but not to disturb their seva, not to kick them away and take their position. So every conditioned living entity in this world, and that's how the material world, the today's society encourages everyone to become the best. And therefore the competition keeps on increasing. Who will become the best, and whoever becomes the best, next time there has to be another record holder. And we keep on through this competitive mentality, just like parents do with the kids. Tujhe first hi aana hai. What's the problem? He comes third. We don't understand how subtly we are further strengthening the envy in the child by pushing him towards this competition. No, what you have to say is study. Understand how the first ranker studies, and you try to study, and you get the first rank, wonderful. If not, go and congratulate the person who has become. So through this competitive mentality in the material world, we are actually strengthening envy. But in the spiritual world, there is no competition. So when we develop that mood of a gopa, gopi, cow, monkey, whatever it is, there we want to become their servant. Therefore, our position is das anu das. So right now we are not there, but we are in this world, and we are supposed to practice that. So in our relationship with seniors, never try to usurp their position. Be careful of the mind. For example, let's say you are a preacher. Other devotees also preacher, subordinates also preacher. And your mindset should not be like this. Oh, why does only he gets all the credit when he gives class? When I give class, I don't get any credit, or people don't like my class. And this is the reason why a person can become envious of a senior. Or else when there is a program going on and the junior may think, oh, wish my senior health goes bad, he gets headache or something, and then I'm there to give a class. You getting a point? All kind of nonsense can come in the mind. It all depends on how deep-rooted envy you have and how much you have cultured this envy within you. So our mood is servant. Das and udas. And if we cannot practice it here, there is no question of going there. There is no way we can go there. So therefore, here, our culture is to become the servant of the servant. What we need to accept is the mood of that Vaishnava. And we follow that mood. What is that mood? How that devotee is serving the Lord. How that devotee is serving his seniors. How is he following the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada or his spiritual master is what I want to follow in my relationship to this devotee. That is how we overcome envy. Otherwise, there's no way to overcome envy. And this is the point I wanted to highlight through this second shloka or second stanza of this Damodarashtakam. So it's already 9:10 or 9:15. I guess I can come to a conclusion here. These are just another one or two shlokas which talks about bewilderment from this pastime. I'll not focus on this. Let's come to the third shloka. So some of you might be wondering, this fellow doesn't finish the syllabus only. He said 2 shloka. So today I'll finish 2 shlokas. So second shloka I finished in whatever time we had. And the third shloka I'll finish in 1 minute. So it's all possible, huh? So it's not that I don't have a fast forward button. I can press the fast forward button, I can finish it out. So let's do that with this shloka. But I'm not going to do that. I'll just give you a preview. We'll go in the details next time. Iti driksvalilabhir anandakunde swagosham nimajantam. No, that's not the meter actually. I'm confused. Iti driksvalilabhir anandakunde swagosham nimajantam akhyapayantam. Very, very beautiful composition. Tadiyeshitagneshu Bhakta Jitatvam Puna Prematastam Shatavriti Vande. Let me just give you the word meaning quickly, what it says. Itidrik, which means the past time, which is, so as I said, the past time have not yet concluded. What has happened is, Krishna has only got bound. But after this, deliverance of Nalakavera Manigriva, and then he getting free by Nanda Maharaj. Is that what this verse emphasizes? Let me give you how it emphasizes these 2 leelas together, which we'll focus next time. Iti drik swalilabhi. So iti drik means what is being discussed, which means the Damodar Leela where Krishna came under the control of Mother Yashoda. Swalila. Swalila means his own. Iti drik swalilabhir ananda kunde. So Krishna performs this pastimes by his own sweet will, and he creates a kunda of bliss. You only know the kunda of, Ganda Pani. The only kund that we know in material world is Nala, right? But the kund which is created here is created of bliss. A very interesting point Acharya has mentioned. Why Satyavrat Muni is saying Ananda Kunda, not Sukha Kunda? What's the difference between Sukha and Ananda? Sukha exists in material world and Ananda exists in spiritual world. There is nothing called as Sukha in the spiritual world. And Ananda cannot exist in the material world. Is that okay? Don't search for it. What you get is only Sukha. And what is Sukha actually? So, Kabhi Khushi, Kabhi Gam, right? Tara Ram Pam Pam. Oh, how did I got? That is what it is, right? That is what. Kabhi Khushi, Kabhi Gam, Tara Ram Pam Pam. Tara Ram Pam is like pitai ho rahi hai. By the material nature. So, Sukha in this material world is always accompanied by Dukha. It is inseparable. It is one relationship where they never get divorced. Okay, this is Sukha Dukha. Now you may figure out who is husband, who is wife. I don't know. Then you can figure it out. So, therefore, Satyavrat Muni is not saying Sukha. He is saying Ananda. And what is the nature of the Ananda is described in the next line. Iti driksvalilabhir ananda kunde. By his Leela, Krishna creates a kunda, lakes of bliss. And what happens? Swagosham nimajantam akhya. Plunges. Swagosham, along with his family members, along with his Brajvasis, Krishna plunges everyone into this pools of ecstasies. Akhya payantam. And it goes on increasing. Just like in Chicago, there's a Chicago lake. When I went for the first time, somebody told me lake. I began to laugh. I said, पागल बना रहा है? कहाँ किस दृष्टिकोण से lake लगता है? I said, this is the way its length and breadth is. You cannot see the end. It looks like an ocean. There are ships that ply on that lake. Can you imagine? And that Chicago lake goes from America, goes to Canada. Huge water body, very deep. It's called a Chicago Lake. I don't know why it's called Chicago Lake, but it's called Chicago Lake, but I'm telling you. So it's like an ocean, something like that. I'm saying here, Ananda Kunda. When I read for the first time, the first thing that came to my mind is Chicago Lake. No end, Kaneko Lake, but it's like an ocean. Akhya Payantam. And how this Leela, so now Krishna performs two Leelas, which we'll discuss next time. Then Krishna goes ahead. So what Krishna does after this? He calls all his friends. Now Krishna, all his friends come. So until the time Mother Yashoda was there, Krishna was crying. Ooh. Mother Yashoda went away, Krishna stopped crying. He called his friends and he was so happy, my friends have come. And he began to walk or crawl, whatever you want to say, walk along with Ukkal. What did Krishna say to his friends? Krishna said, मैया ने खिलाया नहीं, माखन जो चोरी किया था खाने से पहले पिट गया. I am very hungry. Shrilaji Goswami mentioned, I am very hungry. My dear friends, attack. He is caught and he plans another stealing. He says, attack, go to the house of all the gopis, steal butter and bring it here and we'll have a party. And all the gopas run away to get that. And that is what happens. And then what happens? And then that deliverance of Yamala Arjuna trees. And more sweeter than that is, okay, let me say this way. I'm just making some points here because next time otherwise this verse also will not get over. Now, if I ask you, what do you want in your life? You want peace or you want love? But let me tell you, you cannot have both together. But you cannot have both, have contradictory nature, okay? I'll explain you how it's contradictory, but let me ask. So, okay, let's have, in case our devotees can have the cameras on or something, give me a thumbs up for either of the option. Or you can virtually do so if you wish. So let me ask, how many of you want peace? Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Raise your hands up. So how many? All right. I can't repeat the comment which came here by the crowd sitting here, so that's okay. Okay, keep quiet, huh? मेरे मुंह से ना निकल जाए. Shanti, who wants Shanti? Okay, so all the new bhaktas want Shanti. Because you're new bhakta, that's the reason only you want Shanti, because you don't know what's the nature of Shanti. Okay, how many of you want love, prema? Raise your hand. Hey, Mother Yashoda had prema, but how much anxiety mother had? Huh? Prema means no Shanti. Can you imagine Mother Yashoda, how much she had to run, chase after she's sweating? So if you get prema, if you aspire for prema, there is no Shanti possibility. So those of you who have raised hand for Shanti, the only reason you have raised hand for Shanti is because you're so much frustrated in your life today. Because you're utterly frustrated, you think, I'm aiming for Shanti, I need Shanti. And you are thinking, second thing, frustrated in life, second thing, frustrated with relationships. So you think if I get in relationship, already one relationship is not working out. So there is no point of this prema. But the prema which is being discussed here, which Mother Yashoda has and which will be discussed in this verse next time when we meet, is actually spiritual prema, where the emotions takes you to the extreme ends of happiness and sorrowness. And they both exist parallelly. That's the beauty of this prema. So here, Mother Yashoda feels victorious. She has captured Krishna and Krishna cried. Ultimately, Krishna would have the last laughter. And later on, Krishna is going to laugh and Mother Yashoda going to cry. And Krishna would really make her cry like anything. And that is why the shloka says, very beautiful, Swagosham nimajantam akhyapayantam. And Krishna creates Leela. So now the next two Leela, you may say, okay, Mother Yashoda created the Leela. Okay, let's give you benefit of doubt. Mother Yashoda created the first Leela that happened. But the next two Leela will be created by Krishna. And you see how Krishna creates Nimajantam Akhyavantam. He puts all the Vrajavasis into the pools of ecstasy through that very, very sweet pastime. Tadiyeshtu, what is that? Tadiyeshita Gneshu. We'll discuss this about next time. Anyways, the point here in the last, like Satyavrata says, those who are jnani cannot understand this. Bhaktir jitatvam, Krishna can only be captured by bhakti. Oh, wait a second, where is my screen? Yeah, Krishna can only be captured by bhaktir jitatvam. And that is what we read in the 21st shloka. Only through bhakti we can understand. And then what he says, Punaha prematastam shatavritti vande. Punah means again and again. Premataha means with love and affection. Punah prematastam. I offered unto you what? Shatavriti. Sat namastak, matlab, to put your head down. How many times? Shata. Hundreds and thousands times. I bow down at your lotus feet. Again and again offer my respectful obeisance, my dear Lord, for giving us access to your transcendental mellows, for the sweet nectar of your Vraj Bhakti and Vraj Leela. Like this beautiful prayers continue. So in these three shlokas, Srila Satyavrat Muni have summarized the 9th and the 10th and the 11th chapter of 10th canto. So the first verse point towards the 9th chapter. First and second verse point towards the 9th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, and the third verse points towards the 10th and the 11th chapter. 10th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam is deliverance and Nalkavara Manigriva. 11th chapter is actually when Nand Maharaj comes and releases Krishna. That's about the 11th chapter. With that, we come to a conclusion for our discussion. Shri Damodarashtakam ki, Satyavrat Muni ki, Jagadu Srila Prabhupada की हरे कृष्णा। आप सभी भक्तों का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद जो एकादशी के दिन भी एक्स्ट्रा टाइम देकर अपने चैंटिंग को कॉम्प्रोमाइज करते हुए आज आप सत्र में आए हैं। किसी का कोई टिप्पणी, कमेंट? मुझे नहीं लगता कोई प्रश्न होगा, बट मे बी इफ देयर आर एनी क्वेश्चंस और एनीथिंग एनीवन वांट्स टू क्लैरिफाई। ऑल राइट, जगद्गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की हरे कृष्णा।